USC. Now, because we are not helping, but we are actually hurting our constituents, we must affirm this bill to stop that. Now, the first reason why we must affirm this bill is because electoral colleges cause presidents' policies to bias towards swing states. This is because presidents can hurt their economy just to get a step ahead in these swing states. According to the federalregister.gov, in 2002, George W. Bush placed tariffs on steel around the entire world, making people have to buy steel from the U.S., helping some states such as Pennsylvania and Ohio because they are making this steel, but the states that would buy the steel were getting drastically affected. And the states that made the steel that were getting helped were the swing states. And George W. Bush did this on purpose because when these states got benefited, they saw the cause of this as the president. And these states swung towards George Bush's side. But the other states that were getting affected were already not by his side. So it helped him so much. 99% of those steel consumers lost around $193,000 and about 500 workers. So if we negate this bill, not only are we allowing the president to do this unfair process, but in this process, he is taking away our jobs and taking away money from our steel industry, hurting our economy as a whole. So our whole area gets completely devastated because the president wants a couple more votes in the Electoral College. Now, the second reason why we must pass this bill is because there are advantages. Now, Representative Sunder said that small states get a disadvantage, but that is simply untrue because the ratio of voters and how many points they actually have an advantage. All of those states add up to about 8% of all of the Electoral College votes. And each voter is about 4% more effective than a voter from Texas. Now, we must affirm this bill because and also 2/3 of all these, 2/3 of all the places that presidents campaign in are swing states, making these small states and the swing states completely advantaged. So people who are in California who have beliefs or places that are in these dominant areas do not have their voices heard. We must affirm this bill.
Thank you for that speech of 3 minutes and 6 seconds. All questioners. Representative Sunder.
Representative, in my speech, I didn't say that smaller states were at a disadvantage. I said that smaller concentrations of populations were at a disadvantage. So how does this actually impact us if we're closing the factor of swing states, but then we're opening up the factor of harming rural areas that don't get home?
Well, I don't even think it's really about that. It's also more about if we negate, then our economy will be completely devastated because something like that happened in 2002. Something like that happened in 2002.
So if we pass today's legislation, does that mean people are able to elect the president more directly?
I think that is an effect, but I don't think.
It's a yes or no question.
Yes, I think it is, but I don't think that is very
so wouldn't
important
that mean
at
that
all.
foreign countries would actually find it an incentive to hack into our election system?
First of all, I don't think that is even true, and second of all, that is
So you're
not
saying that
important
the
at all.
2016
The risks
Russia
that we are
collusion
facing
wasn't
right
true.
now, the risks that we are
you
facing
really
right
saying
now
that the
are
2016
way
Russian
heavier
collusion
than what
into
you're
the
talking
election
about.
wasn't true?
Your time is up. You may take your placard and your seat. That was a speech in affirmation while speakers in negation.
Okay.
Representative Simulani.
I thank the chair. This is Representative Sumani speaking for the first time today, first time this session. My pleasure of the judges, chamber, and PO. Please give me any indication you're ready.
People are willing to die for the chance to have a choice and a voice. In fact, in 2011, a man set himself on fire in front of the Egyptian government building to protest autocracy. And because this legislation sets on fire the American democratic process, creates new problems, and upholds an ineffective status quo, we have to negate. So let's look at the first issue, disenfranchisement. In Section 2 of this legislation, it states that electors should have the qualifications requisite for electors of their state legislatures. And there are various different qualifications throughout that of these different states. For example, in Florida, under Amendment 4 of their constitution, they finally allowed felons to vote after decades of denying them these rights. However, there's many things that can make you a felon. For example, look to the Alabama abortion bill, which makes you a felon if you get an abortion for any reason. No matter if you were going to die if you didn't get that abortion, or if you got that abortion as a form of birth control. It's indiscriminate. We can see that this legislation allows for the replacement of gerrymandering with voter disenfranchisement. Because in a popular vote system, we see that you can just pass laws to control who's an elector and who isn't an elector. So nothing actually changes because of it. We simply go to a system that doesn't work and doesn't help the people, simply keeps them out of the electorate. But second, let's look to the issue of campaign mechanics, something that various representatives have brought up. You see, according to Time on November 17, 2016, the popular vote will push candidates to New York, Houston, and many other large cities. And this is essentially the replacement of swing states, Representative Steiner. You talked about how you don't want swing states. This just makes swing cities that are more dense. Instead, we need to negate this legislation, keep the Electoral College, and make sure we keep an effective solution, which actually has only failed 5 out of 58 times, and every time that it has failed, it has made sure to represent the country equally. Because in the last election, Representative Clinton had around 6 million votes in California, while she lost the rest of the country by 3 million. We can't allow one state to decide this, and we need to make sure we're not putting in place a popular vote that allows one area to decide this. You see, this legislation makes sure that we're not representing the rights of the states. We're not representing the rights of the people either. We're simply upholding an ineffective status quo by replacing gerrymandering with this voter disenfranchisement. And we're not eliminating swing states while simply making them denser and not taking care of our rural and semi-rural constituents. Because this destroys the American democratic process, you have to negate.
Thank you for that speech of 2 minutes and 59 seconds. All questioners. Representative Torres. No, my bad, Chiller. Oh.
Okay. Hey, Representative, so you're saying that if we pass this legislation, states are just going to turn majorities into felons?
No, so I'm not saying majorities
Well, yeah,
into
but
felons. I'm talking
they're
about
gonna
voter
turn-
disenfranchisement.
they're
They
gonna
can put
turn
any type of
thousands-
voter
can I ask you a question?
disenfranchisement.
They're going to turn thousands into felons, correct? But aren't prisons...
No, I'm not
Okay,
talking
but-
specifically
okay,
about
so
felons. I'm
can I
talking
ask
about
you a
how they
question?
input
Aren't
laws that
prisons really
control who
expensive?
can vote.
Aren't prisons really expensive?
I'm not talking about prisons. I'm talking about them controlling
Okay,
who
but
can
it's
vote.
fire.
So won't this actually destroy our economy if we negate?
Okay, so I didn't talk about the economy at all. I simply talked about the voices
I know,
of the
but-
people. The voices of the people is the most important thing.
Yes, but because Trump is very fond of tariffs and fond of votes, won't he put a tariff on something to hurt our economy?
Okay, so Trump is one president. We're talking about the entire future
Yes, but
of the
fact
American
is-
democratic
yeah, but the
process.
fact that this is so very effective.
But
won't
this is
other-
for
won't
entire
other
history. We need to
presidents
make sure
adopt
that
this?
we
It's so effective.
This solution is not effective. That's what I proved in my speech.
Okay, same time as you left, you may take your placard in your